Welcome to Replenish the Atmosphere of Discovery, where we discover the Master's plan for our lives. Today's session is on mind control. We're going to talk about mind control on today. So mind control is used to alter or adjust a person's mind against their will. Okay. Some of you may be victims of this, and some of you may be doing it. You do not need to control anyone else's mind. You only need to focus on controlling your own mind, your own thoughts and feelings and actions, okay? Even when you are trying to persuade somebody to do something that is beneficial to them, you should not resort to manipulating them against their will. And people are very clear about what their will is, right? You have to leave them the option to make the decision without just presenting one side, which is your side. So sometimes when you're talking to someone, you won't tell them all sides of the story. You would just present your side because you want them to think however you're thinking or feel however you are feeling. Okay, so you cannot do that. Withholding information that will cause someone to make a decision that's not favorable to you, that is manipulation. It is a form of mind control. Okay, so you don't want to be withholding information because, you know, if you tell them this, then they will make a different decision. That is manipulation. That is a form of mind control. Okay, and so we are often forced to only have one perspective because of our upbringing, right? Because of our religion, because of our career, because of our friendships and our relationships. When we're not taught to form our own perspectives, but to act like him or her, or to talk like him or her, or to look like him or her, our mind begins to rely on those outside influences more than our innate desire to be authentic. Okay, we want to be our authentic selves. We want to think and feel and be the way that God designed us to be, right? And our authenticity becomes connected and wired to the perceptions of everybody else. Okay, we think we are authentic when we are liked by the people that we like. We think that we are authentic when we are accepted by those people that we perceive to be more higher or more highly esteemed than ourselves. That's not authenticity just because the people you like you back, right? That is not your measurement. You are authentic when you are thinking, feeling, being the way that God designed you to be. Okay. So your authenticity at its core is who God created you to be, whether you like it or not. If God made you kind, your authentic self, you're kind. You might hate it, right? Because maybe your kindness has caused you to be walked over. Maybe your trusting demeanor has caused you to be talked about. But that's your authentic self, all right? So we don't always have to like who God created us to be, but it's who we are. Now, our experiences and the situations that have come up in our lives can cause us to despise the very thing that God planted in us to bring goodness to this world, right? But you don't allow how other people and what other people have done to cause you to despise the way that you were created. So even though our experiences are involved with shaping our character, it should be shaping us in the direction of our growth, right? Not our downfall. So many times we are easily brainwashed and influenced into the opposite direction of our success, of our healing, of our restoration. And that puts us into a deeper depression. That puts us into more fear, more anxieties, and more rage and more hopelessness, right? It doesn't help us grow. Persuasion can be a good motivator, right? But it can also be a tool that is used to control your will and control other people's will. Sometimes persuasion can open your mind up to a perspective that unlocks your potential, right? And other times it can convince you to stay closed-minded, right? People can persuade you not to take risks based on their fears from their experiences, not knowing that God put in you the power to see this thing through, right? And you stop because of them. Okay. So you can also be persuaded to try things that you should have never been involved in, things you should have never done, right? And we call it peer pressure, which is the influence from those that are like you, right? Maybe you're the same age, the same gender, maybe you come from the same community, right? When you begin to feel cautious, you need to validate that feeling before you move forward. You need to validate it. Am I feeling cautious or am I feeling fear, right? If it's fear, it's involving thoughts that are tormenting, okay? Is this feeling true? The feeling that I'm feeling, is this feeling true, or is it based off of an overactive rational imagination, right? When you recognize that it's caution and that it's not fear, you do not give in to the pressure, no matter how persuasive something is, right? The peer pressure is real. People that you think like you, they can persuade you to do things that are not right for you, that is going against your growth. Okay. So when you are under something or someone else's influence, it controls what you believe and it tells you how to feel, even if that thing or that person is no longer around you. If you are influenced by them to that point that they have mind control over you, it will control what you believe and it will tell you how to feel even when you are not in the presence of that thing or that person. This happens in different religions. This happens in relationships. This happens in your career. And this is really done in slow doses if you're not careful. So in religion, as disciples of Christ, we have to make sure we don't start behaving cult-like, right? Yes, we want them saved, right? But not pressuring them, trying to control them, making them think and act how we think, not God, how we think that they should act and how they should think, right? We have to be careful that whatever opinions we're giving, we're making people aware that these are opinions, but the word of God, what I give you from the word of God, that is the fact. Okay. Telling them who they can and can't talk to, what they can't talk about. You give them the word of God. You introduce them to the Holy Spirit and you let that work for them, right? And so even at your job, you will form these cliques, right? You will form these cliques, and in your relationships where if you don't like something, you want to convince everybody else not to like it. You cannot control what someone else likes. And if you find yourself being that person that someone says they like something, and because of your persuasion, they no longer like it, you are the manipulator. You are the one that is being the one presenting this mind control over someone. If somebody doesn't want to tell you something and you persuade them to tell you something, that is their right to tell you or not to tell you. Okay. So you want to be careful that we are not doing these things. If you don't want to go somewhere, you want to convince everybody else not to go, right? You can give them your experience, but give them all of the information and let the choice remain theirs. Okay. You don't have the right to take away someone's choice to feel how they want, to believe what they want, and to act how they want. Even as a believer, you do not have that right. Okay. And if you have done this, you need to ask for forgiveness and stop, because it is manipulation. Some of it is even domination and intimidation, which is witchcraft, right? You may not have a broom and a pointy nose or a pot that you start stirring something in, but it is witchcraft, right? Mind control and manipulation is witchcraft. And so if this is you, ask for forgiveness and stop. Stop wanting to control people's feelings. Stop wanting to control how they respond. Stop wanting to control where they go and what they do and how they act. Okay. If this has happened to you, you need to break the power of that mind control and begin thinking for yourself based off of facts and not feelings. A lot of time we make decisions based off feelings, but if someone can manipulate how you feel, you're not really making your own decision. Okay. One common type of mind control is when you are convinced to change your values or settle for less than what you know you're capable of. Okay. And it's so easy now with social media and everyone being so visually stimulated, right? That we won't or don't even see past that. We just see what we see and we think that's what it is. We don't care about the motives, or we don't care about what's really going on. We are just hyper focused on what we see with these two eyes, right? Everything is not what it appears to be. That's why you need discernment. Everything is not what you see. Some things are. Some things is exactly what you're seeing, but everything is not what it appears. So you have to start asking questions about things that don't make sense, right? Stop just doing what everybody else is doing and not knowing why. You're just following the trend. You're just following what everybody else is doing. And a lot of that, before it's all said and done, will cause detriment to you. Okay. When you're just doing things because people said it and because they're doing it. If it doesn't make sense, it's okay to ask questions. We have this thing where we don't want to obtain more information, right? People perish for the lack of knowledge. So the more you know, the more you know. You don't lift that knowledge above God, above the knowledge of God, but you want to learn and have more information about the thing so you can make a fully conscious decision, right? And you're not being persuaded to do something against your will. And then there's some manipulation that is tolerated, right? Because you've become dependent, okay? You're depending on that job. So you tolerate the manipulation that the higher ups do, right? You're depending on the government. So you tolerate some of that manipulation. You're depending on your church. You're depending on your spouse. Maybe you're depending on your children. So you tolerate some of that manipulation. But when will you stand for what you truly believe? You stand for everything and everybody else, right? Except your own values concerning you. You have been manipulated into accepting a value of yourself that most of the time when we're doing that, it's always a value lower than who we really are. It's always a value lower than where God sees us, right? You know that somewhere within you that you are more than what you have allowed people to make you believe. So why stay there? Why stay in that place? You feel that there is something bigger inside of you. Why not begin to chase it? Go after the you that is locked inside, right? You have ignored it, you have suppressed it, but you even dream about it, okay? Your spirit will not forget who you are. You may, right? You may suppress it, you may press it down, you may ignore it, but your spirit does not forget who you are. This happens whenever you come in contact with where you're supposed to be. If it could be a commercial, it could be a phrase you hear, it can be a movie or a song you heard. It reminds your spirit of where you are supposed to be. And then you begin to feel that anticipation and that expectation that you were supposed to do something. Why do we keep shrugging that off? Right? You feel it. There's a quickening, there's a leap in your spirit when you hear something or see something that you know deep inside of you, you are connected to, right? Pay attention to that feeling. When you get that expectation and that anticipation that is something I'm supposed to be doing, and it's connected to what I just heard, it's connected to what I just saw. Chase that. That means you're somewhere locked away that you should not be. Okay, you have to confront those areas that you are being controlled in. Okay, is it your thoughts? Is it your feelings? Do you act a certain way and you know that's not who you really are? Is it because of somebody else? So you have to get off that person's train of thought and get back to your own. And if you are the one that is manipulating and trying to control other people, find out what is out of control in your own life, because that's what the case normally is. Controlling people have an area in their life that they have no control over. Okay. When circumstances begin to be out of control, you can develop controlling behaviors in other areas, right? Such as overeating or undereating, right? Anytime there is a lack of control in an area, you can be prone to being controlling in another area. And the idea is to have a healthy management or control of yourself, your own body, your own mind, your own spirit and soul. Okay. And you don't use God as a cop out. He is not a cop out. God is not going to manipulate or control you for you. Okay. It's called self-control. So he instructs us, right? But we still have to choose to obey his leading. Okay. He's not still working on us. He's already finished creating us. Okay, it is finished. He's already finished creating us. We're still working on us. We're still working on obeying him and obeying his word. Okay, it's not him still working. He's done. We have to stop undoing and redoing what he's already done. Okay, and this is why we renew our minds daily to prevent the undoing, because we were perfectly made until we got into this world, and all of these things start influencing how we think, how we act, what we feel. Okay, so that's why we renew our minds to prevent that undoing of what God has already done, what he has already created. We have to establish a foundation for our values, our goals, our purpose. There has to be a foundation. Okay, when we have not set a foundation, we can be easily manipulated into forming values that are not ours, okay? Which more than likely, it's always lower, right? Or even non-existent, okay? So being overwhelmed can cause you to transfer that lack of control onto other people, okay? And typically it's those that are defenseless or under your authority. So if you are a leader, a boss, a parent, in any capacity, when you get overwhelmed and things are out of your control, you need to be mindful about trying to control other aspects and other people that really don't have a say-so in how you're treating them. A lot of overwhelmed parents, employers, teachers, right, leaders become overbearing and controlling towards their children, their employees, their students. And when you cannot gain control by physical force, you may resort to emotional and mental manipulation, because that type doesn't leave visible scars. Even you see this even in government. A lot of times we find out after government leaders have died that they were so dogmatic, right? And they were so forceful on the people, but in their home, they had no control. Their spouse was overbearing, right? So they would put that control onto the people and make these outrageous laws because they had no control in another area of their life. So there's always something that's underneath the thing that is happening that you see. So you have to regain your freedom of thought. This means think about what you want to think about without thinking about what somebody would think about you. So if you're having a thought or an idea, and all of a sudden you shut that idea down because you think, oh, what would someone think? Right? No, regain your freedom of thought. That puts limits on what God can do with your imagination, right? There's ideas he wants to give you and show you, and instruction he wants to give you, but you're so focused on what someone else thinks about it, you shut it down. You won't go past the first two thoughts, right? And so I want you to regain that freedom of thought, right? Trust God with your imagination. He gave it to you, okay? Stick with the facts, not feelings. Stick with the facts. Your feelings are temporary, and they can cause you to do things that you would not normally do. Stick with the facts. Even if you have a feeling, have the feeling, but stay in touch with the facts, right? The feeling is information about your thoughts. Always remember that. Your feelings, that's just information about what you're thinking and how you're thinking. And if you're thinking it's from a wrong perspective, then your feelings are off. So if you act based off your feelings, that was based off your thoughts, right? From a wrong perspective, your action is wrong, okay? And before you have to go on a whole thing of apologizing and repenting, just take a moment and focus on the facts. Yes, okay, I feel this way, but it's because my thinking's jacked up. And you know, If you have the capacity of your mind, you know when your thoughts are messed up. So just don't act. Don't act on those feelings. Feel them, don't act on them. Okay. Challenge inconsistencies within yourself. Challenge the inconsistencies within yourself. Don't ignore the stuff that you know is off. Okay. Something or someone may be manipulating your goals, your values, or your purpose, maybe even making you feel like you have no purpose, right? Don't think that it won't even be somebody that means you well. Okay. Some people don't even know they're manipulative, and you have other people that are masters at it, right? So challenge those inconsistencies. Find the root. Why am I thinking this? Chase it. We chase everything else. We want to chase the truth about, what somebody did to us, but we don't chase the truth about the inconsistencies in the way that we think and the way that we feel. If you don't like how you're feeling, find out why. Okay, why? What happened at the start of this? What was I thinking? Why was I thinking that? Was it because of something I watched? Was it because of something somebody said? Was it because of somebody else's experience, right? That now has entered my imagination and causes me to overthink and be fearful about something? Chase that, okay? Because that will help you grow. That will help you not be bound and not be limited, okay? Then you want to discover and hold on to your true identity. There are so many things that is trying to convince you to be somebody else, right? Hold on to who God created you to be. When you don't know who you are, you will quickly switch personalities and characteristics to fit whatever group that you're with, right? And this stuff starts as early as elementary, right? Some of you have never left the playground. Your true identity is on the slide at so-and-so elementary, right? The person you are today is really Sally Sue Tasha. It's not even you, because your likes and dislikes, the way you talk, what you eat, who you're attracted to, are based off of someone else's identity, not yours. Okay. So if you left yourself on that slide, whatever year that was, go get her, go get him, right? Find out who God created you to be. Okay. Control your own mind, not nobody else's. Your mind is yours. Their mind is theirs. Okay. Be yourself. Don't be anybody else. The world needs a you, not a them. There's already a them, right? There's a bunch of thems out there. The world needs you and your authentic self. And a lot of times what I find is that the thing that we're praying about, the thing that we're missing, is the thing that we're not presenting. It's in us, right? If you think about the questions you ask God, why don't we have this? Most of the time, it's the thing that's in you that you don't want to give to the world for whatever reason. Okay. It's the reason why that burden is on you, because you can do something about it. Right. So think about the things that you complain about. Is it something that you have the power to do? Is it something that God has given you the ability to do, the thing that you're complaining about? Okay. The things that you're seeing in this world, you probably have the solution to it. Okay. But someone has convinced you that you are less than what you were created to be. Okay. And you have to pay attention to that. When the things are inconsistent, when your feelings are inconsistent with your spirit and what you feel, challenge it. Okay. Don't just ignore it. And if you are the one that wants people under your control, find out what's out of control in your own life and fix that. Take care of that. Get peace in that. Okay. So that you're not disrupting someone else's journey, so that you're not disrupting someone else from operating in their purpose. We are here. We're supposed to help each other. We're supposed to help each other grow and build each other. I have something you need. You have something I need. And I would hope that you would give it to me if you know I need it. Okay. So I pray that this was enlightening to you. I hope that you all are searching yourselves, searching your thoughts, searching your feelings, seeing if the things that you think, the way that you think, is it really the way God designed you to think? Okay. Or did someone else experience cause you to feel this way about this person, or cause you to feel this way about whatever it is that you think, however it is that you think? Okay. And this is where we find those struggles of generational curses and strongholds, right? You know, if you act just like mama, just like daddy, just like Annie, and you know you didn't like it before. Okay, you know you didn't like it when you were young. Okay, but your perspective was formed based off of your upbringing. Okay, and what you don't like, change it, right? And it's going to take you constantly changing it. So our mind starts thinking the way it is programmed to think. And if that programming was wrong, you got to undo the programming, right? And that takes work. And I know we don't like to work. Our brain don't like to work harder than what we want it to, okay? But if you want to break it, if you want to break this mind control off of you, you have to do the work. That means every thought. You're going to have to challenge the thoughts that are not the thoughts you want. You can't just let them keep going, right? Whatever train, whatever direction you drive that train, that's the direction it's going to go. If you decide not to be in the driver's seat, it's going to go everywhere, right? You have to direct your thoughts. And this goes a lot deeper than the surface, okay? Because depending on how old you are, you may have a lot of digging to do, okay? You don't have to dig up everything, but the thing that came to your mind as I was speaking, focus on just that, okay? And then just go back to see, do you really like that? When you're that type of person, you will have the personality of whoever that you are around. And so that slowly kills you. Okay, yeah, you have a body and you're living, but you're just existing as someone else, and you won't be happy existing as someone else, no matter how comfortable you try to convince yourself that it is to you. And a lot of times we have a fear of being our authentic self because we were rejected, right? That something we liked was rejected. But it has to be okay that everybody doesn't like what you like. It doesn't have to be that way. And somewhere along the line, you were convinced that everybody has to like you. Everybody has to like what you say. Everybody has to like the way you look. But no, when you know who you are, who God created you to be first, right? You don't let people decide that. Then someone else not liking you doesn't bother you as much because you know your father likes you. You know your father created you this way. And so what other people think about it or feel about it doesn't seem to have that much of an effect. But growing up, you're taught to, people have to like this, people have to like that. And then you learn, they like when I say this, they like when I look like this. You learn these things. Okay. And at first, before you would resist it. You could feel the difference. But once you do that so long, you stop feeling the difference. You stop feeling the difference between what you really like and who you really are, and then who you are portraying to be. Right. I mean, if you do that, you think about it, you do that for 10 years, it's a habit. It's who you think you really are. But I always say, pay attention to your dreams and pay attention to that quickening in your spirit when you hear something and you all of a sudden have this expectation that there was something that I'm supposed to do. Pay attention to that, okay? Because that's the thing you're supposed to be doing. That's your destiny. That is connecting with your spirit. That's trying to alert you like, hey, you're supposed to be over here. This is what you're supposed to be doing. And a lot of times fear will try to step in and take over that anticipation, take over that expectation, so that now you fear the thing that you're supposed to be doing, right? Don't let it do that to you. Okay. We are supposed to live this life, enjoy this life, help each other, be the best version of ourselves. not put each other down, not contribute to the mind control that people are already under, right? You want to pull them out, embrace who they really are. You don't have to like every single thing, but embrace who they are. Okay, you have your likes, they have their likes. It's okay. Okay, we're all made in the image of God, but we have different strengths and weaknesses, and we have different characteristics, we have different perspectives, and that's on purpose. Okay, if we were all the exact same, we would be robots. Okay, and I would like to believe that God gets joy out of his children being who he created them to be. And it's, to me, that's boring to just have everybody to be the exact same, look the exact same. I want God to look upon his creation and say, that's my daughter, that's my son, that's how I created them, right? Even when the world tried to twist it and switch it, they made sure they stayed renewed in their mind. They made sure they stayed the way that I created them, right? I always think about what God thinks. Like, what does he think about this? What does he think about him telling me to do something and me telling him I can't? If he created me to do it, but I'm going to say, no, I can't do that. You made a mistake. Even though you created me, you made the mistake, right? So just think about that. Okay, think about why you think the way you think, why you feel the way you feel. If it's because of someone that is currently in your life, you want to evaluate that relationship, that friendship, that job, right? Wherever it is, you want to regain your freedom of thought without inserting what someone else would think. Okay. See if you can just have 10 minutes of thinking your own thoughts without being focused on what somebody else would think, and watch what God do with those thoughts. Okay. Watch the ideas that would come. Watch how your perspective changes when you don't have to think about what somebody else think about you. Okay. Go back to being your authentic self. Be the way God created you to be. You'll be much happier. Okay. So I will see you all next week at 3 o'clock. Have a blessed weekend.